Hey everybody, we're at the NFL Draft interview room, and I'm talking with my friend and longtime draft coverage man and partner, Bill Chackhes. Bill, you've covered the NFL Draft for the past 9 years.
With you.
Right? But
this is my 30th altogether.
Right. So
and my 41st draft.
Right now, so real quick, tell us what you expect to see happen at this 2013 NFL Draft.
Well, talking to a bunch of different people this week, as you know, all the different people that we network with. A very good friend of mine who's a former Pittsburgh Steelers scout told me that we should be very surprised if we see a run on quarterbacks before the end of the first round. What's probably going to happen is people are going to get desperate. Somebody's going to get desperate for a quarterback, make a trade up a few picks, and then there'll be a run on all the guys. Okay? Now, as far as the linemen go, I think the linemen are much more value in this draft than last year with quarterbacks. So if, in fact, Eric Fisher does go with the first overall pick to the Chiefs, don't be surprised if Luke Jokiel is either second or third right after that.
Right to the Raiders?
Right to the Raiders. Well, it's possible Chance Warmack goes to the Raiders, too. We're hearing a lot of different things, and you, Zenny, you know this as well as I do for all the years you watch the draft. You have smoke screens and back room plays and shifts. You know, I'm really looking at what will be, teams have to address who will be the better player for their system. Now, I don't believe in fitting a system to a player. I believe in molding a player to a system. There are a lot of coaches that disagree with that, but then again, I was never a head coach. I was only an assistant coach. So I've always been taught at the 1AA level and Division II level, you fit the players to your system, you don't fit the system to your player.
Who do you like for defensive tackles?
You know,
is the group that good?
It's so even right now. I wouldn't be surprised if one guy went the first defensive tackle slightly over the other two. I really, and I asked Steve Mariucci this yesterday because he does the series on NFL Network called Game Changers, and he and Warren Sapp worked out the top 3 defensive tackles in this draft, and they're all pretty even. I would say the young man from Florida is probably more of an under tackle than the other two. The other two could be nose tackles or left or right DTs, but the young man from Florida is probably a better under tackle in an off shift 4-3.
Now, what about wide receivers?
Well, now here's the caveat. I don't really think there's a wide receiver who's going to go before the 10th pick. And I think you should be really surprised if one does. Somebody's going to get very desperate. Again, it's going to be a matter of desperation.
Now, why is it? Now, is it that the offensive tackles really are that much better than everybody else? How do we get to a point where we have a draft that is structured like this?
Because offensive tackles are any of the bodyguards for the quarterbacks and the running backs.
I get that, but I'm saying why? That's been true for the dawn of it. Yeah.
Forever.
Why this year are they valued more than other players?
This year,
how did we get to this point?
This year, it happens to be that the tackles are the higher ranked players in this draft, the more developed, the better athletes. Believe it or not, you would think a skilled player is a better athlete,
yeah,
but an athlete that's in need. When I look at teams that are in need, I see a dozen teams that need a quality left or right tackle.
But you can get those without spending like 30 to 40 million.
But you can't get a guy who's going to be an all-pro caliber player and a future Hall of Famer for 10 or 12 or 15 years.
But the question is, is that really going to last?
I think after this year...
If you were a GM, would you spend that much money on offensive tackle?
This year. I don't know about next year or the year after. This year I would. If I needed it.
Bill Chackhes, Football Reporters Online,
and Zenny 62 Media.
Thanks, man.
And wait, Pro Player Insiders featured reporter.
You got it. Cool. All right, thanks.